second criteria we look for is what we call favourable mortgage conditions. So now we know the first criteria is they don't need the money now. The second criteria we look for is what we call favourable mortgage conditions. Let me explain what a favourable mortgage condition is, and there are a few of them really. So the first thing is, if we're taking on someone else's mortgage, now remember, the property stays in the name of the owner, and if they've got a mortgage, that stays in their name as well. But we need to understand the terms around that mortgage. So what is the interest rate they are paying? And ideally, it's a nice low interest rate. If you were going to buy a property and get a buy-to-let mortgage, like an HMO or something, you're probably going to pay somewhere between 4 and 5%, maybe a bit more. Can I ask, in the room, stick your hand up if you've got a property, either your own home or an investment, where you're only paying, say, maybe 2.5% or 3% on your mortgage. Stick your hand up. Yeah, look around the room. That's at least half the room. If you're paying less than 2% on your mortgage, okay, a few more. If you're paying less than 1.5% on a mortgage, a few people still. So the whole point is, if you're taking on the payments of someone else's mortgage, maybe that mortgage is at maybe anywhere between 1.5% to 3%, instead of paying 4 to 5%. Does that make sense? So if someone's got a nice low interest rate, that means you're going to be paying less money every month than if you actually bought this property, which is pretty handy. The next thing is, ideally, we want an interest-only mortgage. If you're going to be paying the mortgage payment for the owner, an interest-only payment is going to be less than a repayment mortgage. Does that make sense? Ideally, we want a buy-to-let mortgage. Now, a buy-to-let mortgage is where typically a landlord has taken out a mortgage on a property with the intention of renting it to other people. That's different from a residential mortgage, which is what someone has on their own home, okay? Now, if we find a landlord, that's great because it's probably going to be a buy-to-let mortgage. We can then rent that property out with no problem. Listen carefully. If it's a residential mortgage, we need to contact the mortgage lender and get what's called consent to let. So we need to get consent to let, which is agreement that we can actually let that property out to tenants. Okay? We always want to make sure we do things properly and abiding by all the rules and things. So you need to get consent to let if it's a residential mortgage. We want a long period left to run on the mortgage. People might take out a 20, 25-year mortgage initially, but if there's only 2 years left on the mortgage, what that means in 2 years' time, they have to pay back the mortgage. It's no good you arranging a 5-year option because they've got to pay it back in 2 years. It's not going to work. So we need to understand how long is left on their mortgage. Or maybe there's no mortgage at all. Again, maybe it's an inherited property. Or a landlord who over the years has paid off all of their debt. Again, that works really well because then we don't even have to bother with any communication because there is no mortgage lender. We don't have to communicate with them. So that can work incredibly well. You've got to really simplify this for yourself and also for the seller. You've got to keep it really simple and just focus on what are they trying to achieve. So whenever we do a purchase lease option, we really need to find out everything we possibly can about the mortgage and the terms and conditions to understand if it's going to work for us or not. Remember, we want as many of these as we possibly can get in place. We won't necessarily get all of them.